They didn't accuse me. They scheduled me. My daughter said it was just a doctor's appointment. That word just is how betrayal hides. When we pulled into the parking lot, I read the sign twice. Behavioral Health Assessment Center. Not cardiology. Not general practice. Behavioral. They were trying to prove I was unstable. And once that word enters your medical file, it never really leaves. Inside, she filled out forms. I watched her handwriting carefully select the words. Memory lapses. Suspicious behavior. Financial misjudgment. I realized something then. They weren't worried about my health. They were building evidence. Because 3 weeks earlier, I refused to sign power of attorney. That's when the tone changed. From loving concern to quiet documentation, the psychiatrist called my name. He didn't look at me first. He looked at her. That told me everything. He began gently. What year is it? Who is the current president? What medications do you take? Basic orientation questions. I answered calmly. Clear. Measured. Precise. He wrote quickly. Then he asked something different. Have you noticed changes in your memory? That question isn't about memory. It's about doubt. If you hesitate, you look confused. If you answer too fast, you look defensive. I chose steady. I notice when people underestimate me, I said. He paused. Just briefly. Then came the real question. Do you believe your family is trying to control you? Careful. That's a trap. If I say, yes, paranoia. If I say no, denial. So I said, I believe financial control often disguises itself as concern. Silence. He stopped writing. For the first time, he looked directly at me, and I knew something had shifted. He wasn't just evaluating me. He was evaluating the narrative. The session lasted nearly an hour. He asked about my accounts. I told him the exact balances. He asked about my investments. I described their performance percentages. He asked about recent transactions. I explained each one. Then he asked why. I thought I was there. I answered without emotion, because I refused to surrender control of my estate. He wrote that down, carefully. Then he asked my daughter to step outside. The door closed. The room changed temperature. His tone changed to, Are you afraid of your family? He asked. No, I said. I am aware of them. There's a difference. Fear is emotional. Awareness is strategic. He leaned back slightly. If they file for guardianship, what will you do? I said one word. Document. He smiled, not warmly, but knowingly. 2 days later, the report was submitted to the court. My daughter assumed it would support her petition. She was confident. So was her attorney, until my lawyer requested the full psychological evaluation. Above average cognition for age, no signs of dementia, no impairment. Clear executive functioning. But the final paragraph changed everything. Patient expresses credible concern regarding potential coercive control by family members. Coercive control, that phrase carries weight. More than accusations. More than whispers. It is clinical objective. Unemotional. At the guardianship hearing, their attorney spoke first. He referenced concerns, observed a decline, erratic financial behavior. Then my attorney handed the judge the psychiatric report. The courtroom grew quiet. Paper turning is loud when reputations are unraveling. The judge read slowly, line by line. Then he looked at my daughter. Is there any medical evidence of No. He looked at her attorney. Do you have an independent evaluation contradicting this? No. Guardianship requires clear and convincing evidence, not discomfort, not impatience. Not inheritance, anxiety. The judge closed the file. Petition denied. 2 words. Denied. You could feel the oxygen return to the room, but what struck me most wasn't relief. It was realization. They truly believed this would work. They believed age meant weakness. They believed silence meant confusion. They believed I wouldn't prepare. That was their mistake. Outside the courthouse, my daughter tried to speak. We were just worried. Worried I might change my will. Worried I might live independently longer than expected. Worried I might not distribute assets the way they planned. Concern becomes suspicious when it benefits the concerned. Since then, I've taken precautions. Trust revisions. Notification triggers. Independent financial oversight. Not because I'm afraid, because once someone questions your sanity, you plan differently. Here's what they didn't expect. The psychiatrist didn't just evaluate my cognition. He evaluated the power dynamics, and he saw clearly. Age does not erase intelligence. Calm does not equal confusion. And refusing to surrender control is not instability. It is awareness. They took me to a psychiatrist to prove I was crazy. Instead, they documented their own intentions. If you've ever had someone quietly question your competence, if you've ever felt the ground shift beneath your independence, subscribe. Because this channel is for the ones who prepare quietly and win publicly.